It's not every day that you get the opportunity to talk to someone who has built a multi-million-dollar business, especially a successful, poised, confident Black woman who's all about self-care and might get massages and acupuncture, right? Someone who is relatable, giving groundbreaking advice to help you bust through your own revenue goals. Well, my friend, today is your lucky day because I am joined by Claire Soares of Up in the Air Life, who is, in fact, that multi-million-dollar business owner. And she's done it through ups, downs, and COVID to create a travel agency for Black professionals that helps other people flourish in business and life, including herself. If you're really interested in breaking through those profit plateaus and loving your entrepreneurial journey, well, hey, this episode, it's for you. I did it just for you. You can thank me later. All right, let's go.
Welcome to the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. This is the place where you and your fellow empire-building entrepreneurs come to vanquish the burnout monster and boost your glow and cash flow with energy alignment techniques and tried and true marketing strategies. Since 7 figures won't get itself, hit that subscribe button and never miss out on your chance to skyrocket profits, tap into your intuition, and manifest your dreams. And now, your host, Powerhouse Story Brand Certified Guide, award-winning marketer, bioenergetic business coach, and Japanese whiskey lover, Alea Harris.
I think often when we think about people who own multi-million-dollar businesses and we're just starting out and we're at our 5 figures, like, ooh, is 6 possible? We give ourselves a lot of excuses. Oh, well, they had this, or they're like this, or they're smarter, better, richer, taller, or whatever it is that we tell ourselves to make ourselves feel better as to why they were able to do it with such apparent ease, which is, by the way, probably not true, and why we cannot do it. Instead of taking that approach, I encourage you, as you're listening to this, and everyone who is building a business, to learn from what they did right and what they did wrong. In our Own It membership, I teach my students and my crew, my clique, my squad inside of Own It how to build a 6-figure business. But today, when we're learning from Claire Soares about how to get that multi-million-dollar business where you're living in multiple different countries and working part-time, how to do that, well, that's a different level. And she does it by prioritizing herself and prioritizing self-care. Now, you might be saying, oh, Leah, I'm working these 14-hour days, 7 days a week because I have to. I don't have much of a choice. She can prioritize because she's already hit her millions. That's not true. You are your business. And when I get burnt out, tired, and lost, I'm not able to lead my team. I am not able to be there and show up for myself. And I begin to feel like my business is more of a burden rather than the gateway to me leaving a legacy of abundance and building my empire. So self-care is important as an entrepreneur from day one, but that requires you to prioritize yourself first. You need to put your mask on before you put your business's mask on. So as you're prioritizing yourself, I want you to use that as your mantra. I prioritize myself. I prioritize myself. You could even switch it around to say, I am my number one priority. I am my number one priority. That helps you just in so many ways. It helps you in so many ways because it clears the crap. It clears other people's expectations. It helps you understand what is important. You as a being are important. And then you start there and work yourself outwards. Even if you have kids, yes, they are amazing, but you still are your number one priority. And then they come after that, right? I would argue even you're your number one priority and your relationship with spirit is that number one priority because you're able to make that connection, get that creativity flowing, get that source of inspiration. So I urge you to say to yourself in situations of stress, in situations where you're having to make a decision, I am my number one priority, and see what clarity comes from that. Would that mean that you hire a virtual assistant? Would that mean that you restructure your organization? Could that even mean that you raise your prices? Shock and awe. Most likely you need to raise your prices. You should raise your prices. But if you come from the perspective of you being your number one priority, I think that there's a lot that can be accomplished from there. Today, we talked to someone who is a living testament of how being your number one priority can make you millions. Claire Soares channeled her love for luxury champagne and exotic destinations to launch the multi-million-dollar flagship travel company Up in the Air Life. She believes in doing what you love, being who you are, and living life out loud. Claire is also the creator of the self-funded CEO coaching program, a program that teaches entrepreneurs how to create wildly successful businesses by mastering digital marketing, sales, and creating a loyal client base for life. So, if you're wanting to know how to basically level up and get what I call hashtag Claire goals, then make sure you listen to my interview with Claire coming up next.
This episode is brought to you by Bioenergetic Business Coaching by Flourish Marketing. Do you wake up feeling tired? You can't build your empire if you're cranky and exhausted. If you're fed up with fighting a losing battle against the burnout monster, it's time to fix the root causes of your issues and get aligned. Turn up the wattage on your glow and cash flow with effective business strategies. Bioenergetic Business Coaching is for growth-getting entrepreneurs who know they need to make a change to see better results and reach their goals. If you want to unblock your energy and unleash abundance, head to www.flourishmarketing.co/coaching to become a client. Now's your chance to step into the role of CEO, Chief Energy Officer, and flourish in business and life. Go to www.flourishmarketing.co/coaching to get started.
Hey there, Claire. Thank you so much for joining the Flourishing Entrepreneur podcast. How are you?
I'm wonderful today. How are you?
I'm doing great, even better because it's not every day that I get to sit down with such a successful entrepreneur as yourself. So, why don't you, before we dive into all of our juicy questions, tell the listeners out there who you are and what problem you solve?
Absolutely. My name is Claire, and I am the founder and CEO of Up in the Air Life. I've been called one of the most influential Black women in travel by Travel Noir, and I lead one of the few luxury travel companies in the world that really cater to African Americans. And then I also run a coaching program for entrepreneurs who are looking to step into their legacies.
I love that. I love that, and I've had the opportunity of helping you with coaching program, helping you with the other business through copywriting, and I am always impressed. I'm like, I'm writing the words for your business, and I'm like, golly, this woman is a mogul. So thank you for not shying away from your light and sharing it with everybody so you can inspire all of the rest of us to be a little bit more Claire-like in our approach to life and business. But
Thank you.
it hasn't been like an easy journey necessarily, especially because at the time of this recording, it's January 2022. We're still in a pandemic, not in the throes of the most difficult part, but there's been ups and downs because, travel is not always guaranteed, we've learned. So, what techniques or tools have you used, especially in times of growth or extreme lack, to avoid burnout and staying in alignment personally and professionally?
Probably my number one thing that I do is definitely meditation. I like to do a bookend meditation. I really love the Balance app. So if you haven't downloaded the Balance app, it's absolutely phenomenal. There is a gentleman, I can't recall his name. I want to say Osofu. But anyways, he is, I believe he's Ghanaian. And there's something soothing about hearing like that black voice on the meditation app that I really, really love. So I do that in the morning and I do that in the evening pretty much every day. The second thing that I do is therapy consistently. I've been doing therapy for years. Therapy is usually where I can get more insight into myself, as well as kind of why I'm having angst, because a lot of times when you're on this journey, you have angst and you get a little anxious sometimes about decisions. Whenever I have to make tough decisions, often it can be very scary. And then I suffer from a lot of anxiety and then a lot of procrastination. So that would be my second thing. And then self care. So a lot of self care and boundaries. So boundaries on when I'm working, when I'm not working, and a lot of self care. Like the biggest change I've made in the last few years has been to prioritize my personal life. So really making it like a job. Like I had a dinner party 7 days after my new place in Chicago. I have massages typically weekly when I was in Mexico. I also like to outsource a lot of help around the house and things so I really can free up my time, because when you're working long days, you really have to make sure that you're having time for yourself, because otherwise you can end up working a long day and literally doing stuff around the house and literally having not any time to yourself.
Yeah, I've been, guilty of that. I do understand where you're coming from there, but I also am a big massage fan as well. I do massage and Pilates are my jam. But it's interesting hearing that coming from you, a multi-million-dollar business owner, right? And it's always so funny to me that the business babies out there, they're like, "I just want my 5 figures," are like, "I can't rest. I gotta grind. I gotta hustle. I gotta muscle it out because this is how you build a business." And here you have this multi-million-dollar business owner being like, "Yeah, no, I get massages weekly and make sure I have dinner parties." I think that people hear that and they're like, "Oh, well, that's what happens when you get the money." It's like, no, that's how you get the money. It's not the end result. It's part of the process. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, like absolutely. So there's definitely a delicate balance, right? So when you're building, yeah, you're going to grind, but you also have to play. You also need to pay yourself.
Yes.
The biggest mistake I think a lot of entrepreneurs make is they grind, they don't pay themselves. And I went through this myself. And then you are 8 months to a year in and you hate your business because it is stealing from you.
Yep.
And so, in order to not feel like it's stealing, you need to actually compensate yourself, because you end up in situations where you're paying everyone else, but then you're poor. Like you don't have any money, you're not being compensated. And it's interesting mentally how your mind shifts when you do receive that compensation, when you are rewarding yourself.
How did you make that shift between paying everybody else and paying yourself? Because it's not like you just do it overnight. You're like, I just want more money. God, can you shake that money tree for me, please? Thank you. Thank you. It's like you have that outflow going out. Do you let go
Mhm.
of people? Do you change your systems? What did you do?
Well, number one thing, you need to figure out how you can become profitable.
Mhm.
So oftentimes that means that you're not priced right. So it
Mm.
means you have to raise your prices. It means you have to look in the mirror and be truly honest with yourself with how much does it actually cost to run this business? How much help do I need to be consistent? And once you get that number, you need to move forward with that number. And if you don't, you're basically be in a situation where you'll sell things and you're literally going to run yourself out of business, because you have so much capacity that you can do like for just yourself, but at the end of the day it's going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
So you definitely have to price up and create a profitable business based on like proper planning,
Yes.
which is a challenge for a lot of people, because they feel like, oh, my price is this and it only costs this. And it's like, well, what about your time? What about the other person's time? Like you're not factoring these costs
Right.
or even the support that you need to keep the business in float and your life in float.
Absolutely. Or the value of it in the market. So you know this, Claire. We've written copy for you. We're copywriters, is what
Mhm.
we do. We also are not copywriters on Fiverr, right? So if you want a Fiverr copywriter who you're gonna pay, I don't know, $100 to, you'll get a certain quality of work. If you
Mhm.
want us, a Story Brand certified copywriter and her team, Our sales sequences for email start at $3,000.
Hmm.
Why is that? Well, so do all the other story brand certified guides. That's our value in the market. And in
Hmm.
fact, if I lower my prices, I lower the value of my certification for everybody. Or if you're in an industry and say that there were 3 Black-owned travel companies, there probably are probably like 3. I only know of 1, Up in the Air Life, and that's who I would recommend to everybody listening. But
Thank
let's say
you.
hypothetically there were 3,
Hmm.
and you have a trip for 10,000, person B has a trip for 10,000, and person C comes in at 7. And you look first of all, I hope you and person B give person C a side eye. You're like, "What you doing, boo?
Yeah.
What you now we're in a price war, and the only way to go in a price war is to the bottom. You're just going down. When all of you are just competing on price and not being able to price what you're worth, price what the market will handle, and communicate your value, right?
Hmm.
It's a little unfortunate. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little riled
No, I
up.
mean, you are touching on a very sensitive subject that people don't want to talk about. And, what I say all the time is I'm not going to compete on price because we are providing value. There is a lot of work to do, especially for private trip planning. I've been explaining to clients. I mean, today to travel in COVID, you're talking at least 7 forms, travel restrictions that have to be reviewed, COVID testing that has to be coordinated, and a minimum of 2 tests, sometimes maybe 3, depending on the destination. Not to mention some places you have to fly on a specific flight. So there's a lot of work that goes into planning that, making reservations, and coordinating all that. And so if you want to, people say like, oh, I can just plan things on my own. If you can, you're lucky you can do that. But I'd argue today, even my most savviest friends are having issues traveling because there's so many different rules. They're not taking the time to read. They're getting potentially stuck in
Mm,
places. They're having to cancel their trips last minute because they didn't proper plan. They didn't know they had to do this or had to do that. So, at the end of the day, like you can choose to get all the business because you're selling yourself at a lower price point, and that's a different business model, like a Walmart, or you can price yourself,
yeah.
under like a premium, option. And there's no right or wrong. You need to decide, but ultimately, it needs to be priced so that you can actually live the life you want to live and have
Right.
support for your team and the people that work for you.
Exactly, exactly. Oh, you preaching to the choir. Such insight. I love it. I love it. So, you are a travel guru, you're a coach,
Mhm.
and many other amazing things. A beautiful Black woman. You got life pretty much on lock here from where I'm sitting, Claire.
I'm trying.
So, what are 3 pro tips from your areas of expertise that will
Mhm.
help our empire builders scale their businesses while enjoying their entrepreneurial journey?
Ah, number one, master the free tools before you start paying for things. A lot of times, people starting up will ask me, well, what systems are you using? And I'm like, the systems I use, we pay like thousands a month in the systems that we use. But when you're starting out, master Google Sheets, master free stuff, because until you really start understanding your business intricately, it doesn't always make sense to invest in like CRMs and all these things, especially when you don't have funding. Number two, plan. You're always going to need to plan. Like, plan what does the next minimum 3 months look like? I know sometimes it can be hard to plan for like a year, but what does the next 3 months look like? When it comes to planning, the core areas that we plan in that I've learned from one of my mentoring programs through Alex Sharfin is we look at the 5 components of our business. First, we look at leads. How does it look like for our leads process? Like, how are we capturing leads? Is that working well? Then we look at nurturing. Once we get someone's email or phone number, what does our nurture process look like? Is it good? Then conversion. How is our conversion? Are we converting well? Is that good or not? And then the fourth level is delivery. How is delivery of service? Once someone actually buys from us, what does that process look like? How is that experience? And then the last phase we look at is how does the upsell process look like? How does the customer retention process look like? And so when we go through planning, we look at those 5 areas of our business and we look at what is suffering the most. And then also understanding that at any given moment, you're never going to have perfect fives in everything. Alex Sharfin talks about that a lot. And so we focus on one thing. So, like this quarter, we're focusing on delivery for the first 6 months of the year, really enhancing that. The reason we are is because our email list is almost 30,000. We've got like 70,000 followers. It's insane. And so we don't need to worry about collecting a single email more. We need to focus on really delivering to the people who buy our services and enhancing it. And if we can get, you know, a quarter of those clients to repeat, which is what we've been doing in the years, like that literally can, help increase our growth. And so literally focusing on the planning. And the last thing I would say is as you're making the plans for what you want to do, you need to leverage all those skills that you have. So like a lot of people ask me like how did you get there? What did you do? Leverage all the skills that you learned through corporate or through whatever jobs you had before. And so that takes time in figuring out like what are you good at that you can bring to your business and being really clear on what you need to outsource. Like your first hire most likely is going to be a virtual assistant. And after that, the best way to figure out the next hire is do a time study and figure out what you're doing with your time. And after you do the time study, you can then figure out, oh, I'm spending this amount of time doing this. Hire someone for that. And then you've just freed up 10 to 15 hours or more of your time. So those are like my top ones.
That is brilliant, and thank you for answering the question, "How did you do it?" Because a lot of people compartmentalize. They are running away from a job that they hated, so they ditch everything with that. They're like, "I was an accountant. I don't even like numbers anymore. I'm not gonna apply any of my accounting skills. I'm a creative now." It's like,
Yeah, I wish it were that easy. It can be for some, but for a lot of us, there's work in figuring out like what you're going to do and what the market needs.
exactly. Exactly, what the market needs. Because I talk about you can have a passion, but unless it solves someone's problem, you're not gonna make a profit, right? You
Exactly.
can I love roses and watercolor paintings, but unless I'm planning on building some kind of roses and watercolor painting empire,
Hmm.
it ain't gonna happen, right?
For sure. Hmm.
No, I don't think that there's a high demand for that, right?
I mean, I did hear a story about someone making six figures by farting in jars.
I heard that story too.
That was definitely eye opening. She farts in jars, saves the smell, and literally is making six figures. I was like, whoa.
But is it sustainable? Like, she keeps doing that?
She was like she stopped because I believe she went into the hospital because she was eating a lot of beans and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
to
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, to be
increase
able
her
to get it
supply.
yeah.
She thought she
You
was
could
having a heart attack.
outsource that. No one knows if it's actually yours.
See, I was thinking that too. Why don't you just hire people
Right.
and expand and scale your business? But again, that's scaling, which is
That's scaling.
scaling is so hard, quite frankly. I mean, that's the phase that I'm in right now where we're scaling. So I will be officially part time
Nice.
in 2 months. And
Oh,
so it's been
congratulations.
definitely the most painful part of my journey, but it's the most rewarding part that most entrepreneurs never make it to.
Nope, they really don't. When you say scaling, what are the activities of scaling?
Scaling means ultimately that you've automated a lot of processes, and for the owner or the founder, you're removing yourself from a lot of the transactions. You're also removing yourself from the delivery. So the company can actually run without you. So it's no longer the Claire show. I no longer go on trips, right? I'm no longer involved in every single contract or negotiation. I'm more leading the company from a strategic standpoint and letting someone else run the actual day to day operations. But in order to do that, you actually have to document painfully all your processes, which probably for most people is going to be at least 100 or more. And so you have to document all the processes.
Yeah, that SOP log is gonna be a hefty Google Drive
Oh,
folder, my
yeah. Oh,
friend.
yeah.
Yes.
We actually use Notion, which I love. So it's like a little online wiki. It's
Oh,
got like all the quick links, it's got videos. And so it's been a project that we're wrapping up at the end of this month, hopefully. But scaling is a beautiful thing because you've worked really hard. I mean, I've been in this game since 2013. And so, yeah, to be able to finally start to work less and enjoy life more and really lead the vision, but just be more of a visionary versus the actual worker bee is an amazing chapter that I'm looking forward to in my life.
and I think that it's your goals, so hashtag goals, because that's what a lot of business owners are trying to do. And I
Mhm,
also think that it's really important that you said you've been doing this since 2013. It is now 2022.
mhm,
There are people who have overnight successes, but if you're trying to build that legacy of abundance, it's not going to be, I've been in business for a year. Why am I not on a yacht, 6 months out of the year, right? Unless your business is sailing yachts, it's probably not going to happen in that first year.
mhm,
And I do get a lot of impatience with a healthy sprinkle of fear from newbie business owners who are like, well, but if it doesn't happen for me, I'm gonna have to go back and get another job, and I don't want another job, and then this, or if it doesn't happen, I'll be homeless, and then I'll be on the street. Like, there's always like these huge what ifs, right? And
mhm.
if you're building a business correctly, it is a commitment to that business for at least a little bit of time. I think that that's
It
really
is.
important.
And it's scary. And to be honest, like, I always tell people that are looking to quit their job to go into entrepreneurship, use your job as your first investor. Like, I don't recommend to quit cold turkey. I certainly did not quit cold turkey. I invested a significant amount of money into my business. I mean, year one, I easily invested well over $10,000 cash to build systems that I wanted, to make sure the website was where I wanted it. And we've since done the website over at least 3 times now. So, one of the reasons to my success is that I had money to fix problems, because when you have problems, you often, the easiest way to fix it is to throw money to make people happy. And a lot of people get into the travel business or whatever business and you have no money. And so what happens is, when you have issues and you have no money to fix them, you are in a world of hurt. And then you end up in
Yeah.
situations that you can't fix, and people are like very unhappy and may take their business to social media, say how much they hate you.
Yeah, or a bad Yelp review, a bad Google
Yeah.
review. I think that it's
Oh, yeah.
interesting too when you're talking about money that people approach business ownership like a really fancy hobby, and
Mhm,
they
mhm,
don't say, it takes money to make money," or they say, "Well, not me. I'm just a solopreneur. I'm just gonna start up with this." Even if it's you and your brain and a computer, which is
mhm,
what mine was. I wasn't planning trips. It's literally my brain and a computer, and I could deliver all that I needed. As soon as I got a VA, I needed systems. Before I got a VA, I needed systems. As soon as you do even like a little inch of growth, you need to be able to build. And we're building like how you're building now, our SOPs and all of that. And we have our team, we have it flowing. All of that takes money. So if you're thinking you're
mhm,
gonna be, you have your hashtag Claire goals and you're gonna just fall into it, that's not how that works. And
mhm.
actually, while we're on the topic, we do have a freebie download for this. If you go to flourishmarketing.co/invest, you will be able to get your business building essentials freebie. It talks
Yes,
about the top
I
five
love it,
things
I
to
love it.
invest in. One of them is delegation, one of them is your systems, and one of them is your energetic investment, like we've already talked about, right?
Mhm,
Because if you're not in it personally, you're definitely it's like you just can't. It's not
mhm.
possible. So, we've talked about how you are living the dream, about to live the dream of all entrepreneurs, or at least most entrepreneurs. But there's been not like one thing that you did. There's no magic bullet. It's not like you said, haha, I did one thing and multi-millions, baby. Like, that's not how that worked. I wish. And then
Yeah,
I'd be like, share it on the podcast, but we're going to make this a paid podcast because if that's a thing that you have, people need to pay money for it. So we all know that there's no magic bullet, but what
mhm,
has been the one piece of advice you would give your past self, the version
mm.
of you who existed about a year after starting your business?
The one thing I would say to my past self is to listen to your gut and stop asking everyone else their opinion. And I say this because the reason you're an entrepreneur is because you are creative, you are magical, and you have a gift. And oftentimes your ideas are not what people commonly hear. They're outside the box. They don't make sense to a lot of people. And if you ask someone that's not on your wavelength, they're going to shoot down your idea because it's different. It doesn't make sense. I'm sure the first person that thought of Uber and said, "Oh my God, I want to create an online app where strangers pick you up," somebody probably said, "This sounds absolutely ridiculous and crazy." And now look at them, right? There were so many decisions in the past that I didn't make because I was scared and I didn't listen to myself and I wanted to get everyone's buy-in and everyone's opinion. And you have to just realize no one is invested in your company more than you. The people that work for you, they work for you. They have not invested a single dime instead of their time, but they're getting compensated. So it's not the same. So while they mean well and they'll have an opinion, ultimately you should listen to them, but follow your gut. And sometimes that gut will take you down crazy roads. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But I do think that for me, I would have saved a lot of time and effort if I would have listened to myself on a lot of things. And so when I broke my leg in 2019, my therapist reminded me about how I said 15 times that day. I said countless times that I thought it was dangerous and I didn't want to go. And that was an eye opener for me because when I broke my leg and I realized the pattern, she actually was pointing out other patterns of situations, whether it was business or personal, that I actually knew. That I physically said, something's wrong, this isn't right, something's up, and I was right. And so that's why going into last year, 2021, I was adamant. I was ruthless. I was aggressive. I went after things. I mean, I did cry on my first mentoring call in January because I wasn't sure what's going to happen after the pandemic. But after that decision, where my mentor basically told me, because I was like, I can't sell trips. We're not traveling. I don't know what's going to happen. And she said, "You own a travel company. You sell trips. Do it. The industry is going to bounce back. We don't know when, but you have to show people that it is happening." And we had $1 million silent launch where we didn't post one thing on Instagram. And that's when I learned the value of create the relationships and literally use your emails and sell to your clients. And this year we did over $3 million, our largest year ever. And we were highly aggressive, highly innovative, right, in what we wanted to do. And we have a lot of work to do on delivery now that we're selling like crazy. But I learned a lot about myself, really pushing the limits of my team. And yeah, I mean, it's a journey. You've got to put forth the effort. You've got to constantly learn, read books. I mean, I was in a mentoring program last year. I had several business coaches. So one thing I think people just miss is like, I've had coaches. I had coaches my first 18 months that I invested in. I've had consultants, I've worked with you. And so if you're not investing in your business, like maybe you're magical and you're one of those people that can do it all yourself, but I would argue that for a lot of us, like we do have to invest. So for a long time, like I reinvested the money we made into the business to get marketing, to get this, to get that. And now we're at a point now that we are highly profitable. We can sell our company, which could be a long-term idea if we wanted to. But yeah, I mean, it takes time to get to know what you're doing and mastering it and mastering that delivery.
I love that, trusting your gut and your intuition, especially because you were giving your vision that's specific for you and nobody else was given that vision.
Mhm.
So a lot of entrepreneurs feel isolated. They talk to their friends, they talk to their family, and they're like,
Mhm.
"What? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Here's some money just in case that doesn't work. I take $5." Right? Like they don't understand. And even that happened to me. I remember when I became a chef. I went to USC undergrad and I was like, okay, I got laid off. I was like, what am I gonna do? And I ended up in culinary school and becoming a chef. And I had a family member irate that I would throw away my mama's money and how dare I, not
Oh,
move
wow.
forward, in the career from college that I was set. And I was like, ooh, I was shook. My mom was actually fine. She was like, no, you're good, girl. We good. Keep going.
Uh-huh.
And it was funny because I then became a celebrity chef. I traveled all over the world as a chef, but I had that vision, not her. And then I worked at Google and the food team and became the head of marketing for North America for a food company using both of my degrees together. I would never been
Got
able to
it.
take that path if I hadn't said I'm going to culinary school, right? And if I had listened to that family member and been like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm just gonna go back, to working as a marketing assistant or something."
Are you kidding? When people respond to us, I always believe that they are triggered by you.
Mhm.
They are triggered because they wish that they could have the independence and they could be so confident to not do what everybody wants them to do. And
Exactly.
literally, like, that's what you're doing when you don't succumb to society saying, "Oh, I went to school and I have a degree in computer science." I mean, I did software testing at Lockheed Martin, but I worked in sales after that. I never used that degree per se, but I did because those problem solving skills, those skills of knowing how to program something, even today in my business, when they say, like, oh, we need to do this, I am the automation queen. I can tell them, like, okay, this is what I think we could do. We create this web page, email clients, and have them click here, and it's going to trigger something and send a message. And they're like, how do you think of that stuff? It's going to come back. Not always the way that you think it is, but all those skills, all those math problems. I used to wonder, why do you need math? Now I could tell you how much 15% markup is, 20% markup without even like pulling out a calculator. I can
Mhm.
do it in my head. I can calculate how much we're saving if we recently we revolutionized our workplace by moving to a 30-hour work week.
Mhm.
And so what we did is organizationally, we wanted to lower our operating expenses and we wanted to increase the quality of life of our team members. So we moved everyone to a 30-hour work week with 1 week off per quarter.
Ooh, lovely.
Right. So now they're in Senate and we're trying it for 3 to 6 months. So it's a win for the company because now we cut our operation expenses by about 10%, no, 25%. And then also what we're doing is that the team members are rewarded for concentrated working.
Yes.
I'm convinced nobody really works 40 hours a week. It's like
No.
some made up number.
Yeah.
And so last week was our first week, and they're like, oh my God, like, I don't know how to get my work done. And I'm just like, you've got to focus. You've got to do Pomodoros. You need to, like, really consider, like, if you want to be pioneers. Like, I'm like, we're pioneers in doing this. And I actually read, I don't know if it's in Amsterdam or wherever, they're also doing a 30-hour work week.
Yes. No,
So,
and it's been consistently proven the 30-hour work week that you actually are much more productive
mhm,
than you are in the 40-hour work week. People also have greater company loyalty and they feel brand ambassadors and brand evangelists. So that you almost also kickstart another marketing arm because the people that work with you are talking about how great your company is all the
mhm.
time, right?
Right, right.
No, I've read several articles and studies on that because when I was working for my larger company because it was something I wanted to promote, but they were so far in the opposite direction. They're like, "We're like at a 70-hour work week, so."
I remember that. I remember that. And you know what? After last year, we worked so hard on the launches. I remember working weekends with my team. And one day I just decided, like, I really want to create the environment that I wish I had when I was their age. I wish I had someone who really invested in me. We read books together
Yeah.
on business, and I let them be a part of the brainstorming process of what we're going to do. And, this 30-hour work week, like I told them, like, I want you guys also to have a life that you love. I want you to have time to live your life.
Yep. Yep. I'm right there with you. Why recreate what we ran from? Why do the exact same thing?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
just
It's real.
because just because our name is on the building doesn't make it any better, right?
Hmm,
So,
hmm.
we have gotten to one of my favorite parts of the interview, which is your journal prompt question. For everyone listening out there, the journal prompt question is the question that you can take away and answer in your own journal time. And Claire has graciously volunteered to answer it for you. And I think that it's perfect based off of this discussion that we've had. So, Claire, are you ready for your journal prompt question?
I am ready.
Wonderful, darling. What are 3 things you can do today to stretch out of that comfort zone and get closer to your goals?
Well, for me, I would say I need to redo my to do list. and then prioritize it. I've got a long to-do list that's been nagging at my left leg just because I moved to a new city and I've slowed down. So literally getting focused on what I need to do this week and next week before I head off to Paris next week. And the other thing I think I need to do is I probably need to go to get acupuncture. I usually do it every week. And since I've left Mexico, I haven't done it. And acupuncture really helps with my mental clarity. If you've never tried it, highly recommend it. Usually after your third or fourth session, you will have a massive increase in clarity. And the other thing I think I need to go back and improve on is drinking water. As crazy as that may sound, most people are dehydrated. One of my mentors, Alex Sharfin, always talks about it, and we talk about it internally on our team calls that everyone needs to get water at the beginning. But I need to drink a lot more water before, as soon as I get up and throughout my day, because there is something that water does with your creativity, with your clarity. And so I think I need to do more things like that to get set up as well as getting organized with my to-do list.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you for
Mm-hmm.
answering that. And it's interesting because my husband and I drink blessed water. So the night before, we have these large like glass
Mm-hmm.
containers and we put the water in it and then we bless the water for the highest good. We ask the water to be filled with light and love and energy. And then we put it in front of the window. He has one window on one side of the house, I have one window on the other side of the house, so that the moon can shine on it so it can get kind of charged by the
I
night
love it.
energy, and then we drink that water throughout the day.
And how have you felt different by doing that?
Centered,
Hmm.
just so not to be so corny, but blessed, like you feel better, like the connection is there. Your intention is also there when you're drinking it to be connected. You're like, I'm drinking this water. I've blessed this water. I feel blessed. I realize that I'm divine. I realize I'm part of something greater. Whatever's right in front of my face that might be a challenge is really not that big of a deal because I am blessed and surrounded by all of my spiritual guides. Like it's that type of experience.
You need to share those
Oh,
affirmations.
girl, I do. I got like
You just dropped like 4, and I'm pretty sure you got a whole list. I'm gonna need to see like some affirmation cards from
okay,
you because you got all.
okay. Sounds like a
Yes,
plan. No, that's my next stream of income, affirmation cards by Alea. At least there's some alliteration there, but
I like it. No, I really like it. I felt that in my soul when you were saying that. I was like, wow, like I really
I'm
felt
so
that. I like
glad.
that.
Try it out. Let me know. Let me know you like it. So, we've come to the end of our interview, sadly, very sadly. But if people wanna book a trip, they wanna learn more about you, they wanna head on out, what can they do, Claire? Tell them what to do.
Well, you can go to upintheairlife.com. And on Instagram, we are Up in the Air Life. And you can find me on Instagram as well at Claire B. Soares on Instagram and also .com.
Awesome, and that's Soares, Soares.
Like soar through the sky. I was
I
named
mean,
for this.
how perfect is that, right? It just really is perfect. Serendipity, serendipity and synchronicity, I love it,
Mhm.
I love it.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest. It's been amazing to have the opportunity to talk to such a successful entrepreneur, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Own It, the energy-centered monthly membership program you need to build your thriving six-figure empire in 12 months without feeling burned out, overwhelmed, or lost. After having reached six figures in 5 months, Alea created Own It because she discovered the only way to leave a legacy of abundance is to own your business instead of it owning you. Ditch the guesswork and hustle mentality that lead to daunting 18-hour days, missed family dinners, and stress-induced rashes. In Own It, you will join a supportive community of your fellow empire builders to take a holistic, step-by-step approach to craft a flourishing business and life via proven marketing frameworks, money-making business strategy, and centering alignment techniques. To join, head over to www.flourishmarketing.co/own-it. Your life has a greater purpose beyond the struggle, Join Own It today at www.flourishmarketing.co/own-it.
I hope you feel blessed because I feel blessed right now. Claire is a wealth of information and an inspiration to me and a lot of other entrepreneurs out there. She talked about meditating in the morning and the evening, getting consistent therapy, having self care and boundaries, mastering the free tools before you start paying for all of the things, planning at least 3 months in advance, and looking at 5 components of your business: leads, nurturing, conversion, delivery, upsell, and customer retention. And she talked about being clear what you need to outsource and, above all, listening to your gut. There were lots of gems and words of wisdom inside of this episode, and I hope that you can use it to flourish in business and in life. I will mention again that freebie that we have available for you to download at flourishmarketing.co/invest, the top 5 investments you need to grow your 6-figure empire. If multi-million-dollar businesses are in your future, it all starts with 5, 6, and then eventually that lovely 7 figures. So this download is a great place to start. Again, go to flourishmarketing.co/invest so you can download the freebie. Until next time, I'm Alea Harris, your host here at The Flourishing Entrepreneur, and I'm sending you lots of love, light, and abundance. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Flourishing Entrepreneur Podcast with Alea Harris. Dive into the show notes at www.flourishmarketing.co/podcast and connect with Alea at Flourishing Entrepreneur on Instagram. Vibing with what you hear? Leave a 5-star review to spread the love and be sure to click subscribe. From the entire Flourish Marketing team, we wish you love, light, and abundance. See you next time.